Yo, what's good? Amateur Lore here, and today we're taking a look at a couple of BCS busters who took over the college football world. Before we jump into the video, let's spin the randomizer wheel and see who won the giveaway for the mini helmets. I took all the names of the viewers who commented their favorite team under my last couple of videos, so good luck. Okay, so congratulations to Jace Card, IX6EV, Porter Chapin 522, and Frosted Mini Wheatons. Y'all are the winners of the giveaway. Check under your original comment. I'm going to message you so we can figure out what team and how to get you your mini helmet. If your name didn't get called this time, don't worry, we're going to be doing plenty more. Expect a big giveaway right before football season starts. Alright, with that all out of the way, let's jump right into the video. Alright, so when it comes to BCS Busters, I've already covered a lot of the big name teams, such as Utah, Boise State, and TCU. So if you're wondering where they are in this video, I made the decision to not include them. Today I want to take a look at some of the more lesser known BCS Busters, which takes us to Orlando, Florida for our first entry, the 2013 UCF Knights. Now we all know about the nice little stretch of dominance from 2017 to 2019, where they would win 13 games with the Peach Bowl victory in 2017, 12-1 with the Fiesta Bowl loss in 2018, and to end their stretch of dominance in the AAC, a 10-3 season in 2019 with the Gasparilla Bowl game win. But something I think a lot of people forget about is the Knights' magical run in 2013, where dare I say if they would have gone undefeated in the regular season, they could have made a lot of noise when it comes to who should be playing in the BCS National Championship game. Hey, I'm just saying. And it might sound insane right now, but the further we get into the video, the more I'm sure that statement will make sense. Okay, so coming into the 2013 college football season, the UCF Knights were starting to become one of the more respectable Group of 5 programs in the entire country, having a couple of nice seasons already under the program's belt. Going 11-3 in 2010, winning the Conference USA title in the Liberty Bowl. 2011 would be a big step down as the Knights would only go 5-7 on the season, but would bounce back strong the following year in 2012, going 10-4, losing in the Conference USA Championship to Tulsa, as well as winning in the Beef O'Brady's Bowl. With the momentum coming into 2013, the sky was the limit for the UCF Knights. But I'm just yapping. Let's actually go back in time and take a look at where some of the media had the Knights finishing in their conference. And I have to mention, 2013 wasn't just a big year for the Knights because they were expecting to play good football, but it was their first year playing in the newly formed American Athletic Conference, which I guess is why Stats.com had them finishing 4th in the AAC behind Rutgers, Cincinnati, and Louisville, all former Big East teams. But like the title of this video suggests, the UCF Knights would far exceed those expectations. That was a short little intro. Now let's take a look at some of the Jits making noise in Disney World. Leading the program in his 8th year up to that point, at head coach we got George O'Leary. And UCF fans, you know I have to ask, where do y'all rank him all time on your coaching ladder? I know Scott Frost was lit, but O'Leary really was the one who made UCF relevant. I'm curious, let me know what y'all think about it down below in the comments. Sliding over to the most important position in sports, quarterback, the man who was tossing the pill around would be Blake Bortles, who'd pass for 3,581 yards with 31 total touchdowns. At running back, we got Storm Johnson, who was consistent every time he touched the ball, rushing for 1,139 yards with 14 tuds. When it comes to the wide receiver room, there really wasn't a star, as 3 players would have more than 700 yards on the season, but the team leader would be Rennell Hall, catching 57 passes for 886 yards and 5 touchdowns. To open up the 2013 college football season, the UCF Knights would begin the year with 2 wins, taking down Akron 38-7 and FIU 38-0. The Knights were up 24-0 at halftime against the Zips and would cruise in the second half to an easy victory. Blake Bortles was excellent versus Akron, passing for 314 yards and 3 touchdowns. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but just like versus the Zips, UCF would be up 24-0 at halftime against FIU, and just like versus Akron, they would cruise in the second half, winning 38-0. The Knights were now sitting at 2-0, and the child play part of their season was out of the way. These next 2 games on UCF's schedule were going to pretty much decide what type of season the Knights were going to have. I'm really hyping these next 2 games up, and I'm pretty sure you're wondering who these teams could possibly be. Well, UCF was set to travel to Penn State to face off against the 2-0 Nittany Lions, and then right after that, they'd be hosting the 12th ranked South Carolina Gamecocks. 2 tough games, but nothing a Knight couldn't handle.
Bortles finds Johnson. Johnson touch there. Taking a hit. Handoff. Touchdown. Zwinner. UCF. Handoff. Johnson. Johnson gets around the edge. Johnson into Nittany Lions territory. Down the sideline. Storm Johnson at the 5. Storm Johnson into Bortles. Under pressure to the corner of the end zone. JJ Zwinak, they remain on the ground. Zwinak fumbles the ball, and Zwinak turns it over.
With University of Miami, here's Bortles on the run. Oh, he faked the pitch, and he's inside the 5. And the pitch to Johnson. He's in, touchdown, South Vanderbilt in North Carolina. Here's a little option for Shaw, and he'll keep. And Shaw, another run, but he coughed it up. A penalty marker down. Central Florida has the ball. And Bortles throws an interception. Victor Hampton steps in front. In that first half, Dylan Thompson, 9 of 22, 115 yards and a pick. Here's Davis. He's loose. He can outrun everybody. Inside the 10. Touchdown, South Carolina. Just hasn't been able to keep the discipline. Thompson with time, but everybody covered. And now Thompson lobs it downfield. It's caught. Inside the 10 by Bird. First down. Thompson out of shotgun. Rolling out. He can take it himself. He will touchdown. Right or left end. No sacks on the day. Here comes a double pass. Thrown into the flat and then going back the other way. And it is intercepted by LeGree. And tackle. Start penalty. It's Davis off left tackle. Breaking free at the 10. Inside the 5. Touchdown. For throw. And here's a quarterback draw. And the ball is out. Bortles lost it. Able to track percent. Third down conversion rate. They'll run Davis. He's got it easily. He's got another touchdown. His third. Going forward. Here's Bortles back to throw. And Clowney got a hand in there. And Bortles still delivers a strike to Hall. He gets a block. He's down the sideline. He'll take it all the way. Touchdown, UCF. They ran it, and UCF took about 15-20 seconds. Here's Bortles, end zone, wide open, touchdown. And South Carolina's got it. Ellington inside the 30 and out of bounds.
UCF would split these two non-conference games, taking down Penn State 34-31 and losing to the 12th-ranked Gamecocks 28-25. Versus Penn State, UCF would play an excellent ball game, totaling 507 yards on offense while never trailing in this game. UCF would be up 28-10 about halfway through the third quarter, and yes, Penn State would attempt to claw their way back into the game, but the Knights were never really in any trouble. Quarterback Blake Bortles was on point from the pocket rocket, passing for 288 yards with 3 touchdowns. Running back Storm Johnson did his thing too, rushing for 117 yards with a touchdown as well. Against the 12th-ranked South Carolina Gamecocks, UCF looked like they might be able to pull off the upset early, holding on to a 10-0 lead going into the third quarter, as well as having the Gamecocks starting quarterback Connor Shaw coming out of the game early with an injury. But that lead wouldn't last for too long, as South Carolina would storm back, scoring 28 straight points. If there was one reason that UCF wasn't able to maintain and hold on to this lead in my opinion, it had to be because of their rushing defense. Running back Mike Davis of South Carolina would go nuts, rushing for 167 yards with 3 touchdowns. The Knights would make a late comeback, having a chance to get the ball back on an onside kick to potentially tie or take the lead, but South Carolina would recover the kick, putting the final score on the game at 28-25. Tough loss, but this South Carolina team was no joke, as they would finish the 2013 college football season 11-2, ranked 4th in the final AP poll. So if UCF could run the table, then their competitive loss against South Carolina could help them out in the long run. But that was only if the Knights could run the table. Speaking of tables, the Knights had one reserved with bottle service in Memphis for their first conference game of the season. I'm assuming they drank a little too much, as UCF would be down going into halftime 7-3, but after a couple bumps they would sober up, responding in the third with a 12-play, 91-yard drive that would end in a 1-yard touchdown run. As fast as UCF would take the lead, they would lose it, with Memphis scoring 10 straight points to go up 17-10. The end of this game would be extremely weird, let me explain. First, the Knights would score a touchdown after their running back would fumble the ball at the 1-yard line, but luckily for him, his teammate would recover it in the end zone, tying the game at 17-all. And then right after that, on a kickoff, Memphis would then fumble the ball with UCF recovering it and returning it for a touchdown to take the 24-17 lead. Hold on, I'm not done yet. After that, the Tigers would drive the ball all the way down to the Knights' 6-yard line, threatening to score, and when it looked like we'd be heading into overtime, Memphis would throw a pick, ending the game with UCF winning 24-17. UCF was now sitting at 4-1 on the season, and I know I said earlier in this video those two non-conference games were big time, but I might have jumped the gun because the Knights' next game on the season was going to be ginormous, as they were set to travel to Louisville to face off against the 8th-ranked 6-0 Cardinals led by quarterback Teddy Bridgewater. Not only would this game have huge American Athletic Conference ramifications, but it would also be a huge resume booster for the UCF Knights, as they would need a big-time win against a highly ranked team if they wanted to have any chance at making it to a BCS Bowl game. The UCF Knights were already battle-tested, having faced off against a pretty good 12th-ranked South Carolina squad. But they got that game at home. This time they'd be on the road on a Friday night with all eyes on them. The UCF Knights at night. Let's go.
230, now a junior. He's developed into a good one. Play fake on first down. Play fake. Pressure. Bridgewater delivers. There's Devontae. Picked up. Bridgewater hit as he throws to the end zone. Caught. Touchdown.
I don't know.
Time to throw for Blake Bortles. Now he has room to run, and Blake Bortles. Stand back. Touchdown. To the end zone again. It is caught. That's Perry. Fumble. UCF recovers. Bortles sets up the screen. This is Storm Johnson again. Johnson reverses field and takes it in for a touchdown. Louisville 12. Stand back again. Picking his way inside the 5. Touchdown. Central Florida. Bortles. Pressure. Blake Bortles dumps it out of bounds from Orlando from 34. And for the first time in 2003. Bridgewater pressure. He will scramble, toss, complete. First down, Dominique Brown. 1st and 10. Bridgewater hands off. Dominique Brown shaking his way all the way into the end zone. Bortles on 2nd and 5, complete. That's Josh Reese, still rolling. Bortles complete, that's Reese. First down, inside the 5. Bortles rolling. To the end zone, caught, touchdown, UCF. The Knights grab the lead. 5 seconds left. One last shot for Bridgewater and the Cardinals. The deep ball all the way to the end zone. It is knocked away, and Central Florida hands Louisville its first loss of 2013.
UCF would upset the 8th-ranked Louisville Cardinals 38-35 in an absolute banger of a game. At first, this matchup was all Cardinals, as they would be up 28-7 with less than 7 minutes in the third quarter. Louisville really looked like a top 8 football team up to that point in the game. But one of my favorite things about sports is that the ball is energy. And even though UCF wasn't playing their best football for about 75% of the game, after they would score on a rushing touchdown from Storm Johnson, the energy would pick up and the Knights would score 24 straight points to take the lead on Louisville 31-28. UCF got punched in the mouth earlier and responded with a couple of jabs of their own. Credit to Louisville, because when it looked like they had lost control of the game, they would respond to UCF with a 9-play, 88-yard drive that would end in a touchdown, giving them the lead once again. This next drive from UCF was probably one of their most important ones on the season. Marching down the field in 11 plays for 75 yards, scoring the game-winning touchdown on a 2-yard pass from Blake Bortles to secure the 38-35 win on the road against the 8th-ranked Louisville Cardinals. The huge win against Louisville would put UCF's record on the season at 5-1, as well as bringing their rankings in the latest polls up to the 23rd spot. The UCF Knights now had a very clear path to making it to a big-time BCS Bowl game. If they could just win out and win their conference title, they'd be all but guaranteed a spot in the BCS. Most teams I cover seem to always fall flat after coming off a huge win, but not UCF, as they would absolutely destroy the UConn Huskies 62-17. Would it be fair, UConn was 0-6 up to that point, and everybody was beating up on them, but still the Knights would put belt to ass, totaling over 527 yards on offense while holding UConn below 240, as well as forcing 4 turnovers. While UConn wouldn't offer much resistance, their next opponent would, as they would barely survive the Houston Cougars, winning 19-14. This conference matchup was one of the more tougher ones, with Houston coming into the game with a record of 7-1, with their defense doing a great job at keeping the pretty good UCF offense at bay. The Knights would only score 6 points in the first half off of 2 field goals, but their defense would respond to the offense's slow start by not allowing Houston to score the entire first half. The Cougars would strike first out of halftime, though taking the lead 7-6. UCF hadn't scored all game, but as soon as the Cougars would strike, the Knights would respond with their own scoring drive, going 75 yards on 10 plays, ending with a rushing touchdown to retake the lead. And from there, UCF would play solid defense and smart football, winning the game 19-14. 8-1 and ranked 17th in the latest polls, the UCF Knights were about to embark on a crucial 3-game stretch of conference play versus teams such as Temple, Rutgers, and USF. At this point in the season, UCF controlled their own destiny. They had a total of 4 games left on their schedule for the regular season, and their hopes and dreams of making a BCS Bowl game was slowly turning into reality. But as we all know, when one program's trying to strive for greatness, there are going to be plenty of other rival schools trying to knock them back down a few. This stretch wasn't going to be easy, but to be fair, nothing this season had really come easy for UCF.
Gilmore and Harper in the backfield. Play fake. Walker steps up looking for 6. He's got his man. Touchdown, Temple. Here comes pressure. He gets rid of it to Stanback, who keeps his feet. At the 35, the 20, the freshman from Long Island. Walker sees the pressure coming from up the middle. Another catch by Anderson, makes the first man miss in the open territory. Gets by his man. Does he stay in bounds? Tight formation. Play fake to Williams, looking deep for Anderson. He throws it deep, gathers, can't get his hands on it, and Anderson behind the defense. The 10, the 5. Johnson in the backfield. Bortles with time over the middle. Guess who? J.J. Wharton still on his feet at the 10, the 5. He will. Here comes pressure. Bortles sees it coming. Looking for Wharton in the end zone. Wharton behind the defense. Oh! Are you kidding?
Top of the screen, Bortles looking that way. Instead, he's going to try to buy a little time, and he's going to have to run it. Might as well run it. See if they go back to stand back. They do. And he's stuck in the backfield, and then he runs right through another.
Second and goal. Play fake. Bortles. Touchdown.
Getting safety help now, though.
On 3rd and 6, end around. This is Dunkley. Has a first down, stretching. Touchdown. White over the middle, complete. First down. First and goal by 3. Shaw, touchdown. Bulls back on. Inside their own 20. Bortles pressure. Intercepted again. Cross's 51-yarder is touchdown. Underdogs on the road. Bortles pumps, deep shot, intended for Pollard, and he's got it. Touchdown, UCF.
Remember when I said nothing this season came easy for UCF? Well, that would carry on during their little stretch, as it was anything but easy, but the Knights would survive going 3-0. In their first game, they take down Temple 39-36. The Owls were in control of this game for a while, never really letting UCF run away with the game. And with less than 2 minutes into the game, they would actually be winning 36-29. But like UCF had done all season, they'd put together a clutch last-minute drive scoring to tie the game, and then stopping Temple, getting the ball back, and going 64 yards in 19 seconds to kick the game-winning field goal. Sheesh, that game was sweaty, but thankfully, their next one during the stretch versus the Scarlet Knights would be much easier, winning 41-17. Not really much to speak of from this matchup. UCF was in control for majority of the game, with the offense moving the ball pretty easily. The final game of the stretch versus the Knights' in-state rivals, the USF Bulls, would be extremely tough. UCF would hold on to the lead going into halftime 13-6 and would hold on to the lead going into the fourth quarter until the Bulls would open up the fourth with a 9-play 77-yard drive ending in a touchdown. There were so many games during the season where UCF would be down late in the fourth quarter, but somehow, some way, the Knights would always respond, and this game wouldn't be any different. Getting the ball with less than 6 minutes on the clock, that would be too much time as UCF would strike in 3 plays, culminating in a 52-yard touchdown pass from Blake Bortles to take the lead and win the game 23-20. This 3-game stretch of conference play was extremely anxiety-inducing, but UCF would come out of it 3-0, putting their record on the season at 10-1, and their rankings in the latest polls would move up to the 16th spot in the country. With 1 game left on the season against SMU, all UCF had to do was win, and they would claim the American Athletic Conference title in their first year of joining the conference. Since this part of the entry is already getting long, we're going to fast forward past their game versus SMU, as they'd win 17-13, claiming the AAC title all for themselves, putting their final record on the regular season at 11-1, and their rankings at the 15th spot in the final regular season polls. The regular season was over, but the Knights still had 1 more game left to play, arguably the biggest game in program history up to that point. A matchup in the Fiesta Bowl with the 11-1 6th-ranked Baylor Bears, a team who set college football on fire this year, leading the country in points per game, averaging an insane 52.4. This game was going to be a track meet, but if UCF wanted to put a bow on this historical season, there was only one option: win.
To take the field to start the game, so Aaron Jones is going to kick off for Baylor. And the dangerous Rennell Hall is back deep for the University of Central Florida Knights. And then the Tostitos. Johnson Touchdown! They do. Johnson without throwing interceptions. Not tonight. Petty down the middle and caught at the 10. Levi Norwood. Touchdown, Baylor. Petty has some running room. Has a first down. Has a touchdown. Under a minute to go. One timeout for the Knights. Liddell Hall. Touchdown, Central. Bryce Petty, the play fake and the completion. Jay Lee inside the 5. Or lower. Petty Cage, touchdown. They love that play. Design rollout for Bortles. Corner of the end zone. Caught. The biggest, it's a BCS game. Bortles has another crease. He has a touchdown. Play. Up the middle. Glasgow Martin, a touchdown. Without his heroics in their last-minute win at Temple. Storm Johnson. He's going to score. Touchdown.
They'll be in pretty good shape.
Bortles takes another knee. And they don't have to snap it again. Relative to the rest of college football.
UCF would cap off this historical season winning against Baylor in the Fiesta Bowl 52-42, putting their final record on the season at 12-1. You see why I said at the very beginning of this entry that UCF could have potentially made it to the Natty? I'm not going to speak on it for too long because we need to move on to the next team. But imagine if UCF would have took down 12th ranked South Carolina earlier in the season. That would mean UCF would have 2 top 12 wins under their belt for the season. And I know realistically there's no way they're getting in over Florida State or Auburn, but it would have been a fun conversation and to see where the BCS would have put them. Okay, leaving Orlando, we travel all the way to the other side of the country for our next BCS Buster, the 2007 Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. You guys have been making sure to let me know almost every video that I need to cover this Hawaii squad. If I'm being honest, this might be one of the most requested teams to cover in the entire history of this YouTube channel. I don't know what took me so long to get around to it, but here we are. Alright, so coming into the 2007 college football season, Hawaii had already pretty much established themselves as one of the better teams in the Western Athletic Conference. And this is a quick side note, but man, back in the 2000s and early 2010s, the WAC and Mountain West were 2 of my favorite conferences in all of college football. There was just so much star power and elite college football teams coming out during that era of football. I miss those years, but that's just me being selfish because programs like TCU, Utah, and BYU all needed to make the jump. They were just too talented. Back to the Rainbow Warriors. Like I said, they had established themselves as one of the upper echelon members of the WAC. As before the season we're covering today, Hawaii was coming off 6 successful football seasons. As they would go 9-4 in 1999, they'd have a bad season after that going 3-9 in 2000, but would bounce back strong going 9-3 in 2001, 10-4 in 2002, 9-5 in 2003, 8-5 in 2004. They had another down year in 2005 going 5-7, but would respond by tying their most wins in a single season in program history, winning 11 games in 2006, which leads us up to the 2007 college football season. Would they break their school record for wins in a single season? Maybe. We'll find out at the end of this entry. So going back in time and looking at some of the preseason predictions for the WAC conference, would you look at this? It looked like Hawaii was the overwhelming favorite to win the WAC title in 2007, which is a rare thing for teams that I cover. They're almost never the conference favorite, but it makes sense when you take a look at this extremely talented college football team. So let's do that. Leading the program in his 9th season up to that point, at head coach we got June Jones. This man always had his offenses flying, as this Hawaii squad would lead the NCAA in points per game this season with 43.4. And Hawaii fans, I need to know, where do y'all rank him all time on your coaching ladder? Comment down below. A big reason for this high-flying offense was the man under center, the late Colt Brennan. Rest in peace. Who'd have an incredible season, passing for 4,343 yards and 38 touchdowns, both of which led the WAC conference. He'd also finished 3rd in Heisman voting. For the running back room, this team was extremely pass-happy, not having a single rusher going over 390 yards. So we're just going to mosey our way over to the wide receiver room, which was stacked like a pancake, having 3 wideouts going over 1,000 receiving yards. Starting with Jason Rivers, who'd catch 92 passes for 1,174 yards with 13 touchdowns. Devon Best, who'd catch 108 passes, which led the WAC for 1,266 yards and 12 touchdowns. Here's some lore about me. When I was a kid, like way back in elementary school, I can't remember the exact year, but Devon Best came down to my school and gave a speech, which was really cool. It was when he played for the Miami Dolphins. Alright, and finally, to round out the trio of uber-talented wideouts, we have the alpha Ryan Grice-Mullen, catching 106 passes for a WAC-leading 1,372 yards with 13 touchdowns. Man, I don't think I've ever covered a team that was this pass-happy. These highlights are going to be very fun to watch. To open up the 2007 college football season, the 23rd ranked Hawaii Rainbow Warriors would begin the year with a nice easy tune-up game, easily taking down powerhouse Northern Colorado 63-6. Not really much to speak of from this game. It was another day in the office for the Rainbow Warriors. However, this next game on the road against the 1-0 Louisiana Tech Bulldogs would be much, much tougher. This Hawaii team had BCS aspirations this year. Could they survive their first real test of the season?
From the gun. Handoff, Jackson inside, has a seam. He's to the 5, he's in the end zone. Handoff, right Jackson has a seam, and he has some room to the 25. Right Jackson inside the 10, he takes it to the house. Brennan, option, keeper, touchdown Hawaii.
NCAA history, and he's done a great job with this program.
Now Brennan fumbles the football. It's loose, and Louisiana Tech has it. But for scores on 3rd down and 2. Handoff straight ahead. It's Porter, breaks it. Porter to the end zone. Touchdown Tech. Porter. All kinds of time for Brennan going deep. Bryce Mullen has it. 20, 10, gone. Touchdown Hawaii. Pressure coming. Brennan over the middle, wide open. It's Bryce Mullen. Touchdown Hawaii. 20th ranked Hawaii. Empty backfield again for Champion. Has time. Fires inside the 5, and it. Fullback Mitchell in there with Jackson. Throw for the corner of the end zone. Wheeler. Touchdown. First down from the 19. Plenty of time. Goes back in the end zone. Touchdown. Devon Beck. Point lead. Looking for a big score. Brennan is pressured. Steps up. Delivers. It's intercepted. It's picked off by Marquise McBeth. And he's down to the Warriors. Minutes to go in this one. Champion. Handoff. Morris. First down and more. To the 10. To the 5. And he's knocked down just shy of the. He's in. Touchdown. This will be a 49-yarder for the tie. Snap good. Kick on the way. Plenty of leg. And the kick is good. And Brennan over the middle. Caught by Bryce Mullen. He's inside the 10 to the 6. Brennan for the corner of the end zone. It's caught by Rivers. 9 carries, 58 yards. Eye set for Champion. Play action. Wants to throw it. Wide open the tight end. It's caught for the touchdown. Louisiana Tech for 2 and the victory. Champion to the end zone. It's knocked away, and Hawaii wins.
Real talk, Hawaii vs. Louisiana Tech had to be one of the best games none of us has ever heard of. Thankfully for this video, the Rainbow Warriors would come out on top in overtime, 45-44, in a back-and-forth game that saw quarterback Colt Brennan dissecting the Bulldogs' defense for 548 yards and 4 touchdowns. If I saw those stats today, I'd be extremely impressed. But back in 2007, man, Colt was balling, and his team would need every bit of his heroic performance, being down 3 with basically a 2-minute drill in front of them. He'd drive his squad down into field goal range, not doing too much, which sometimes can be tough for quarterbacks with the gunslinger mindset, where his kicker would drill a 49-yard field goal to send it into extras. The Rainbow Warriors would score, and so would the Bulldogs. At this point of the game, I was so shocked seeing Louisiana Tech going for the win with the 2-point conversion. It took a lot of balls and was the perfect ending to this banger of a game. That Hawaii would win because they, as we know, would stop them on the 2-point conversion. 24th ranked Hawaii was now sitting at 2-0 on the season. And in their next game on the road at UNLV, some things would change and others wouldn't. What do I mean by that? Well, versus UNLV, their offense would continue being consistent, dropping 49 points with 492 yards and 0 turnovers. But this game, their defense would step up. I guess coach must have ripped them a new one, as versus the Rebels, they'd only give up 14 points in a 49-14 win. Much of the same for the next game. It was versus the FCS team, Charleston Southern. They'd easily win 66-10, so there's not really much to speak of from that game. 4-0 on the season, the Rainbow Warriors would jump up a couple of places in the rankings to the 19th spot, going into their next game on the road at the Idaho Vandals. Yo, I totally forgot Idaho used to play in the WAC. Back when NCAA 09 was a thing, I had a running back that played for them. And if y'all remember how easy it was to dominate with running back in the old Road to Glory, then you should know I was rushing for like 2,600 yards with 80 total touchdowns every season. The Vandals probably could have used my RTG player, as they'd lose 48-20. Both quarterbacks played really ugly this game, totaling 10 interceptions between the two of them. But at least Colt Brennan would make up for his mistakes with 369 yards and 3 touchdowns. I really don't know what the other quarterback was doing, but he definitely hurt his team more than he helped them. At this point of the season, Hawaii was rolling through the teams in front of them, but if they wanted to achieve their goals of making it to the BCS, they couldn't let up, especially with the tricky 3-game stretch of conference play coming up against Utah State, San Jose State, and New Mexico State. Now, while the Rainbow Warriors should win all of these ball games, with their high ranking, every team remaining on their schedule was pretty much looking at their matchup versus Hawaii as their pseudo-national championship game. But this is what comes with BCS aspirations. Survive this stretch or risk playing in the Hawaii Bowl for the 100th time. Simple as that.
Ball is handed to Polaris. Brennan back to pass. with time. Throws into the end zone all alone. First down, the ball is at the 36-yard line of Utah State. Gronke in the pocket, throws long. He wants touchdown. Hawthorne, what a catch! What a catch! And play. Rolling. There's the shovel pass. It goes to David Farmer at the 10.
Back to the 16-yard line. Low snap. Brennan throws toward the back of the end zone, and it's caught. The quarterback here, just a few years ago, he and Tafralis were teammates toward the end zone. Caught.
How they handle Missouri, and the old Oklahoma teams would have crushed a team like this on their home field. So I'm very curious to see him up close.
Tafralis the bomb, and it goes all the way.
The film, the guys are slipping and sliding all over the place.
2nd and 10. Brennan going for the same man, same spot. Touchdown. They do it now with one of the big wins in recent school history. On the line, Callier not only couldn't run it, he fumbled. They led by 14 early. Brennan keeps it. Touchdown, Hawaii. And Hawthorne is 66 yards receiving and a touchdown. And Rivers adds to Tafralis toward the end zone, and it is intercepted. Ball game over.
Motion. Brennan throws. That is complete. This is the play to Bryce Mullins. Around the corner, down the sidelines. Needs to convert here. Looks over the middle, checks, now throws. That is complete. And a touchdown. End zone. Brennan throws. That is complete to Devon Bess. Bess dives into the end zone. Touchdown.
Hawaii would survive this little 3-game stretch, going 3-0 with some of these conference matchups being tougher than others. Starting with their game versus the 0-5 Utah State Aggies. Yeah, this matchup was all Rainbow Warriors, winning 52-37. One thing I noticed about this 2007 Hawaii football team was that they were blowing out a lot more teams than not this year, and Utah State just happened to be their latest victims. Surprisingly, it was the 3-3 San Jose State Spartans who'd give the Rainbow Warriors their toughest match during this 3-game stretch, leading Hawaii by 2 touchdowns late into the 4th quarter. Things were not looking too good, but our guys would respond on an 8-play, 97-yard drive that would end in a passing touchdown from Colt Brennan. San Jose State had a chance to ice the game and run out the clock, but the Hawaii defense, who hadn't really needed to be clutch all season, would step up big time, forcing a fumble and recovering the ball, allowing their offense to march down the field and tie the game, sending it into overtime. In OT, Hawaii would strike first on a passing touchdown from Colt Brennan. I would give Colt the MVP of this game because he passed for 545 yards and 4 touchdowns with 4 picks, but I think the MVP of this game was the entire defense, as they would force that huge turnover late and would pick off the San Jose State QB in overtime to win the game and secure the 42-35 win. Sketchy road game, but a win is a win, and thankfully for Hawaii, that was really the only tough game during this stretch, easily defeating New Mexico State in their final game of the stretch 50-13. Colt Brennan was once again outstanding from the pocket, passing for 425 yards and 6 touchdowns. The Hawaii Rainbow Warriors were now sitting at 8-0 on the season and would be ranked at the 17th spot in the latest polls. So far this season, Hawaii hadn't really faced off against too many teams that could give them a fight. But for the rest of the 2007 college football season, every game remaining on their schedule was going to be against some pretty even competition. Well, minus their next game versus Fresno State. Usually these two teams play some competitive football games, but this year it was all Hawaii, as they would win 37-30. And I know at first glance that score looks really close, but in reality, the Rainbow Warriors had this game in the bag after halftime. Fresno State would score late in garbage time, making the score look like the game was a lot more competitive than it really was. While the Bulldogs didn't offer the Rainbow Warriors that much of a challenge, Colin Kaepernick and the Nevada Wolfpack would. Now, I do have to mention, I think one reason for this game being as close as it was had to be because Colt Brennan was out of this game due to concussion protocol. Thankfully, the backup would step in playing some good ball, passing for 358 yards with 2 touchdowns. But even with those stats, his team would need him to drive down the field with about 2 minutes left on the clock, being down 26-25. Credit to him, he would do exactly that, driving them down the field into field goal range where the kicker would make the game-winning field goal to give the Rainbow Warriors a 28-26 win. That was sweaty, but Hawaii brought deodorant, and would survive upset alert, putting their record at 10-0 in their rankings at the 15th spot in the latest polls. Hawaii's season now would all come down to a game against the juggernauts of the WAC football conference, the Boise State Broncos, where the winner would take all and win the WAC conference and most likely be the team to make a BCS Bowl game. It all came down to this. Hawaii was having an historical season up to this point, but to keep this historical season going, they'd have to take down one of the most successful college football programs in all of collegiate sports, the 19th ranked Boise State Broncos.
Their hopes alive. He kicked a field goal with 11 seconds to go in Reno to beat the Nevada Wolfpack. His kickoff down to Rashawn Scott. And he's driven of last year when they went 13-0, the only undefeated team in the country. And here's Ian Johnson ripping through. He may go inside the 10. Touchdown. Boise is a good corner. Brennan with all day to throw, and he's going deep, throwing into double coverage, and it is caught. 48 catches entering today's action. First and goal. Brennan, corner of the end zone. Juggling catch. Touchdown. First and 10, Hawaii. Quick little hitter to C.J. Hawthorne. He can fly. Upended. Warriors play. Brennan keeps and scores. Touchdown, Hawaii. It would give them the lead. The pitch to Johnson. Bounces into the end zone. Move down by a point. Under 6 minutes to go in the half. There's a strike by Brennan inside the 5. Touchdown, Devon Best.
Traded senior QB.
All right, Quint, thank you. He swings it out the left flat to Devon Best. Run after the catch. Leap into the end zone. Touchdown. That's 6-2. He comes out throwing. It's Brockle again. Hawaii has rushed for 2 yards in this game. Brennan intercepted. Threw it right into the hands of Dallas Dobbs. For Boise State, Kyle Broxman from 37 yards. How good is he? 1 and 5. They can get a first down at the 2. Brennan throws quickly, and it is caught. Touchdown. Jason Rivers with Kyle Wilson. 40 at 5'10", 190 pounds. Brennan forced to step up, wings it deep. Man behind the defense. Touchdown, C.J. Hawthorne.
Hawaii would pull off the win 39-27 against the Boise State Broncos, winning the WAC conference. Now this video is getting longer than I wanted, so we're going to fast forward past Hawaii's next game on the season, which was a really weird one. Like, can someone explain to me why they were playing against Washington in the final regular season game of the season? Anyway, it wouldn't be easy, but they would escape upset alert against Washington, winning 35-28, putting the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors' final record on the regular season at 12-0, with their rankings being at the 10th spot, which is their highest ranking still to this day in program history. The 2007 college football season had been an incredible one, and the best ever in school history, something I'm sure many fans of Hawaii will never forget. All that was left was to win their BCS Bowl game against the 5th-ranked Georgia Bulldogs in the Sugar Bowl. But no matter what the final result was, this 2007 season was already set in stone as one of the greatest ever from the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors.
Marino ranks with his 1,200+ yards. He breaks it to the outside. Marino, touchdown, Georgia. Pump fake to the end zone. Touchdown.
Played by Coach Bobo with the reverse to Bryant.
Slant, and is it a touchdown? Yes.
Here's his coach, won't let him at this point.
Walkie steps up, and a touchdown. And Andy Cavanaugh, our technical producer, Frank Phillips. The senior producer is Bill Brown.